Well, good morning everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm going to make this intro really brief because I've only got a couple of hours this morning. The video will probably extend into another day, but I'm keen to get out and get exploring. So the woodland that you see behind me is within the Forest of Dean, and for those of you that don't know where the Forest of Dean is, I'll put a map up on screen now. It's within the UK. The woodland is huge and it's a mix of broad-leaved and carnivorous woodland. There's no way I can explore the entirety of it on this trip, but I'm keen to see some of it this morning. Just as I walked in through the gate just now, I saw a deer, and the woodland is full of wild boar. I'm not saying we're going to see those today because they're quite secretive. I saw 5 piglets the other day as we were out for a walk. It was really exciting to see. But let's get going and see if we can find some images. You can certainly see where the boar have been. You get patches of the woodland floor that's been absolutely rotivated. That's the only word you can really describe it, and there's a lot of it about, so I don't know how many numbers of boar there are in the woodland, but I'll just show you a quick example of that now. Just down here, I'll just flip the camera around so you can see there all around the base of these trees. You've got lots and lots of bare ground where they've been snuffling, looking for all sorts of food items. They will eat literally anything. This time of year I expect they're looking for tubers along with grubs that have overwintered. Fresh shoots of plants that are starting to come up. But yeah, it's interesting. You get patches of that all over. I mean, it's not, I don't think it's overly invasive, although some people that probably live locally to here might think otherwise. But there's certainly ground flora about. I can see lots of bluebells coming up in the woodland to my right, and whether they're just not considered a food item by the boar, I'm not sure. But yeah, there's certainly plenty of the woodland. I'll just turn that around again now. You just see in the back there's masses of bluebells coming through, and as I say, there's patches of the woodland where there's just no evidence of them. There's a little bit of digging just gone on over there, but for the most part it just looks like any other woodland. Right, let's get on with finding our first image. So walking along this footpath, and I've spotted my first image. It's just off to my right hand side, your left, but I wanted to bring you back to the footpath so you could see it in the context of me finding it. So I'll just spin the camera around. So just over in the centre of the screen is my bag, and to the left of it is a little patch of bracket fungus. Well, I say a little patch, it's quite an extensive patch of bracket fungus, but it looks quite small from here. But I'll walk you in so you can see, and hopefully if you haven't spotted it yet, you will when you get a bit closer and it becomes more apparent. So if I just stop here, now then, there it is, just coming into view. That big patch of bracket fungus. So I'm not particularly sure which type it is. If I was to hazard a guess, I would say it's probably either dryad saddle. In fact, I'm going to go with dryad saddle. It looks a little bit small. Actually, no, I'm going to go with many-zoned polypore. And I say that because if you look on the edges, you've got these, I suppose, striations, these markings, and that's certainly evident on many-zoned polypore. I've just never seen it quite so big. So I'm going to get the camera out now and I'm going to photograph that. I've got an image in my mind, and it's an abstract looking directly down at it. So the view that I'm thinking of, it's probably going to be a crop. Whether it's square, I'm not sure, but I'm thinking of going in close, not having any edges showing, and just an abstract of all those lines, the striations and the edges of the bracket fungus looking from above. It's going to be a huge focus stack, but not one that takes a lot of separate images, just because I'm going to have to jump from one to the other sort of make sure I get all the ones that I need to in. There's obviously nothing in between that I need to get in between the gaps. It's just to make sure that the top and these ones here and the bottom are all in sharp focus. So let's get the camera out and give that a go. What a great starting image. Right, so we're all set up. I had to do a bit of a dash because the sun started coming out, and I really didn't want any sunlight, dapple light on my subject matter. So I'll just flip the camera around and I'll show you the setup now. So quite a complex, exciting looking setup, to say the least. Obviously the camera directly over the subject. I'll just move in. I've got my 35 to 90mm lens on. Reason being is because it's far enough away that I don't have to worry about it, the focusing distance. I can easily get the lens to focus at that distance. If I'd have used my 120mm macro lens, which I often do, the camera would have been significantly higher, and that would have just made life more difficult for me. I've got the little iPhone there set up with the Focus mobile app. I'll go through the image in a second. The reason I use this is because the Hasselblad doesn't video in camera, and also for whatever reason the flip up screen doesn't flip that way around. So it also helps me with my composition, so I can see it in a more comfortable way. As you can see in the background, good old faithful linen cloth there, just shielding that sunlight. You can see the dapple light just coming through the cloth there, but there's absolutely none of that light on the subject, so it's doing a wonderful job keeping that sunlight at bay. So I'll just talk you through the image. So here you can see the image as I've got it set up. Settings wise, I'm on f22 and a 1 second exposure. I've got the crop set to 3:2 so that I exclude all the edges of the fungus that I don't want, and just create a lovely pattern effect. There are one or two bits of marks on the fungus that is unavoidable at this time of year. As they die off, they do get marks and cracks on them and things like that, but I'm quite happy with that. Overall, I do like the way that all the layers are working together to complete the image. When I talk about marks, I'm sort of specifically talking about areas such as this, and you've got this dimple on here. It's actually part of the actual fungus, and then you've got this big broken off chunk here, but it's broken off long enough ago that it's weathered in and it's not overly apparent. But those are the things you just have to put up with when you're photographing fungus in the forest, because over time things fall on them and they do get damaged. But it's just a case of trying to find one where that damage isn't overly apparent in the frame, and I think I've got that with this. I've actually taken the image, so I will put that shot on now. I'm pretty sure it has to be this tree here, although the bark doesn't indicate as such. Just down on the floor there's a large patch of sweet chestnut leaves, and a little bit confusing because it's definitely, all the other trees are significantly smaller than this one. What you get with sweet chestnut, maybe it's just when the trees are more mature, you get a twisting appearance on the bark on the trunks, and this hasn't got it, which is why I'm a bit confused. But really paying a lot of attention to these leaves on the floor, because sweet chestnut is not something that I get a lot of in my local woods, so it's nice to see this, and if I can make an image of it, I will do. You get these beautiful shells from the nuts with these lovely spikes on. If I could incorporate some of that within an image, that'd be just wonderful. So I've got another shot. I'm just bringing you down to it here slowly, and it's this just here. and we've got 3 chestnut leaves, and the middle one has got a bluebell leaflet coming through it. I really like that because it shows the new growth within the old forest. So it's telling a bit of a story, along with I'm going to be able to organise the frame to really take advantage of these dynamic lines, whoops, and these lovely serrated edges of the sweet chestnut leaves. Right, so we're all set up. We've got some problems with the sunlight. It's just coming in directly behind the subject, but I'll talk about that in just a second. I'll just flip you around. So there's the camera in position. The subject is just here. We're about 18 inches away from the subject. I'm using my 120mm macro lens this time, and the camera is all in position, and I've taken the shot. It was at f19 and half a second manual exposure. The white balance is on auto at the minute, and it's 100 ISO. So we'll just get you into the camera and we'll talk about the composition now. So this is my composition. As you can see, we've got the 3 leaves. We've got 1, 2, 3. We've got the nice diagonal running through it here. The bluebell I would have liked to be a little bit more left of centre than where it is, but the problem with that is you lose this corner by doing that, and having that in is important, the amount that it is, because it just adds balance to the frame. If I'd have moved it just so the bluebell was down here, this would have been much smaller and it wouldn't have had the same effect that it's having now in anchoring that top left hand. And the fact that it's slightly darker as well also helps. Now, I would have preferred the bluebell with the camera angle to be slightly down and looking into it, so you could see the bluebell growing through the hole a bit more clearly. But the problem with that is when you get the camera down too low, you get more of this bottom right gap showing here. So there is a slight compromise, but overall I really like it. Now I've got the sun directly behind me at the moment, and you can see what the effect the forest light has if I just move out of the way. Really difficult to manage, which is why I often use my cloth. But in this instance, we don't really need to, because my body's doing an admirable job at keeping the image in nice subdued light. So I'll put that on now. So welcome back. I have found my 3rd image, and this, it really isn't obvious at all. It's very, very much hidden, and typically I've had to put something down on the ground just to set my camera up, not 4 or 5 feet away from it so I can find it again. But actually this is going to come in handy, because just to the left of my subject is some tiny bits of bramble that I just need to deal with. Now, for those of you that are concerned about me snipping things, bramble really isn't a problem for me to move that out of the way just by snipping it off at the base, because what I don't want to do, I mean, bramble is everywhere in the woods. What I don't want to do is put my tripod leg down in a place that is going to knock that and flick another part of it right over my composition, because it's such a delicate little composition is this. I'll show you it now. Right, so I'm going to take you in very, very slowly. There's my marker, and I am literally over the top of the composition there. It is smack bang in the middle. At least I think it is. Yeah, it's definitely in the middle of the frame. Blink and you could easily miss this just by standing right next to it. What I'm looking at, I'll just get a little pointer. I don't want to put my big clumsy fingers in. So just here, there's a very, very delicate decomposed leaf, and just to the bottom of that is another one just there, and those two leaves are going to form the basis of my composition. So the camera is now in position. As you can see, I've actually taken the shot and I've decided upon a 5:4 aspect ratio, and it is going to be a vertical format, a portrait format shot. As you can see directly over, it's very typical of the type of shots that I like to do. 120mm macro. And before I forget, this is taken at f/19 and it's a 1 second exposure, and I'm underexposing by about 2/3 of a stop, just to stop the ribs of the leaves burning out, which, believe it or not, they do stand out and they are quite bright when you get in close, especially with all the surrounding darker vegetation. So I'll get the on-screen view now and I'll just show you the composition and then we'll look at the image. Right, so I will put the image on screen now, and I will just quickly talk through the composition. I've got my pointer so I can just point out the main components. It's only what we saw earlier on before I set the shot up, but it's just nice to see it in a more steady and considered way. So like I said before, you've got this lovely leaf coming down here at the base, just nice, holding the whole composition together at the bottom, and then that's echoed by this one along the top. Now this is a focus stack, and it's been quite a difficult one because just here is a very tall leaf just sticking vertically up, so I've made sure that I've got that tip of that leaf there in absolute sharp focus, well at least that's the plan. And then I've taken a series of images. I've taken one right down here, and I've taken some in this area here as well, but crucially I've made sure that I've got focus absolutely nailed on those ribs. As you can see there, just making sure they're absolutely pin sharp, and at f/19 when I take the image, that gives me sufficient depth between each frame to comfortably, hopefully, let's say comfortably, hopefully make sure everything is in lovely sharp focus on the final image. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bit of a soft dark vignette around the edges, because what we've got here is everything is a very similar tonal range. So a vignette will just draw your attention away from those leaves around the edges, and to be honest, the ones at the top aren't that appealing, so a vignette will do wonders for just hiding those, but focusing your attention on those main two there, just nestled together within the leaf litter. So I hope you like that image. I will put that on now. Well, it's certainly been very much about the close-ups and the abstracts in today's video, and if you've really enjoyed seeing that approach, that type of photography, don't forget to check out my ebook available on my website, www.signboothphotography.com, completely filled full of intimate landscape images just like this one. The book covers how I go about finding, locating these images in the field, and it also covers the mindset, which is very important when you're looking for this type of work. So thank you all so much for watching. I'll put the images on now. Don't forget to subscribe, leave some comments below, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you ever so much for watching. Bye for now.